poster guarded with war medals. We could be angsty things, though we put black and white to call grey. We could be queer misfits, everything we touch beautiful, ugly. We could be souls fatally entangled. We could be stem cells, atomically disabled, crashing through the cables. Nothing is enough until you're enough in your flows. Marvel motive back to the original form. We could be wild winds blowing towards home. We could be grief in the depths of our broken souls. We could be nothing splitting atoms into halves. We could be love, we could be us.
Yo, so after Kiwa mazee umepotea. So Kiwa mazee, hiyo journey ya Kiwa ilikuwa aje? Like ukiona project ili build up vitu nyingi ulikuwa expect ama nini ilifanyika ukago mute?
Well, I didn't go mute for one because we've done like 3 projects after Kiwas.
Yeah.
But for Kiwas was like it was a balance between when I was more metaphorical and hidden and trying to break that meaning. I was preserving those metaphors.
Yeah.
So kwangu like Kiwas was inspired by a painting I did, which by the same title.
Yeah.
I remember Kiwa's ideology was like me questioning. It was having a question mark. So nilikuwa na question: will there be like some remedy when I die? Will there be an answer to the things I'm seeking?
Yeah.
And I realized when you tell your story, a tragic story like my cancer story, which was mostly in Kiwa and death and grief and all that, sometimes you end up telling your own story.
So did Kiwa give you the therapy in Unaduk?
It did, because I think for one reason, in Kiwa, that is the moment I realized I may not really cut as a really good rapper per se, but for rap, for me, music became therapy for me. So in the essence, whether Kiwas didn't make much difference in terms of sales, but it gave me like an opening, it gave me like a closure in terms of me exploring the things that are supposed to give me healing.
But you could have done that by just writing. You're a good poet.
Yeah.
Mbono, you feel like maybe it's time for you to open up through records?
Through records, because music has been a very important part of my journey and my healing. Mostly, I'm a very musical person. I rarely watch like movies or such documentaries and all. I do, but not always. But music is like almost every other time. Like there's no day you come to a place without not finding a headphone on my head or music. It's always running. I grew up in a musical family. Music has always been a part of it, so that's why I felt. In fact, it's one of my strongest outlets of art. I paint, I write, but music has been like huge.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you balance like writing, music, your personal life, and sometimes going mute?
I don't understand going mute, but let me just answer as I receive it.
Yeah.
I think my writing is very personal because it's like it's a documentation of my life. Mostly if you listen to me a lot like you have, you realize most of my songs talk about me and my journey, my experiences and the things that are like from an observer's room. But mostly they're about my personal journey. So I write like every day, like every other time. Sometimes it can just be a line or a word, but I have to like journal every other time. And with the time I can develop these ideas and see if they can create a painting or a song, or it can just be a journal entry.
You see, to me, sometimes you look like a poet when I end in a trend. So how do you balance like the current music with maybe the way Kiwa was built? When you're gonna balance between the two, mafans wana react aje na music yako ama it just is a matter of expression?
No, it's a matter of expression, but there's also a chance that you'll find people who love your music. That's just there. So to be honest, I think I really have very few fans, to say few die-hard fans. People can support your music by buying because they are your friends or they're just supporting your hustle. But there's the people who like really like your music. I have both, and I really like. I feel grateful for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see, like Kiwa built your Hembuko Iko. So like if you listen to Hembuko Iko, you can feel like ulikuwa unajaribu Open up sana kushinda hata venye ulikuwa na open kwa kiwa.
Yeah.
So what's your take on that?
Because in a way I can say the Luo is my first language.
Yeah.
So chances are if I was writing from a really deep place.
Yeah, yeah.
And the inspiration behind Hemkomagiko is Hemkomagiko is a placard on graveyard site. So I felt like it was like me uncovering the graves I've carried all through my life. And you know graves are not beautiful stuff.
It was like a memo.
Yeah, it was a memoir.
Okay. Yeah. So then here comes Johnny and Soul.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been listening to Johnny and Soul like since. So maybe why double CD?
Double CD because one, I'm a Gemini.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a twin flame, I'm a twin soul.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like I can be able to switch between introversion and extroversion. I feel like my life is able to capture that which is at the extreme, joy and so much sorrow, melancholy, and yeah. But also Johnny and Soul, what I wanted, Johnny was more hip-hop, it was more raw, it was more rugged.
Yeah.
And then you go into Soul. Soul was more vulnerable. Actually, what I wanted to capture in Johnny and Soul was vulnerability, to be more vulnerable with my soul. You realize that is the first time I talked about my late girlfriend.
Yeah.
This first time I talked about my daughter openly without with the metaphors.
Yeah.
That is the first time I also wrote about my dear mama.
Yeah.
So these things were very vulnerable, they were very raw. Yeah. I would say these are things that most people would not like to talk about.
Yeah.
Like you see people like Eminem has been over criticized because he talks about very personal story and they're messy. So I felt like for someone to see the soul that you are, for someone to really see your journey, you have to be really vulnerable as a person, within your expression, maybe within your action. That's what I was trying to do with Johnny and Soul.
You see, like after listening to Johnny and Soul, I got two pictures. One is Ochuka who is trying to tell the world, I'm really hardcore hip hop. If you want like that raw music, I can give you that.
Give it to you.
But if you want that cool jazz, soul, classical, knowledgeable kind of music, I can give it. So mbona usi choose like just one, and or ulikuwa unajaribu ku prove fans like you are versatile?
I think also because for one reason I think I've sort of been misunderstood. I have people telling me like I have somebody who knows I do write music. Is a friend from the village. He doesn't like hip hop at all, but he says he likes my music. And sometimes he asks me, why can't you rap like these cats who have like big media presence? And I'm like, no, I can't do that. He said, but you're a writer, that means you can create anything. But sometimes I feel like when I was doing Johnny, there's a track called Cast Ground, there's Ayatollah. Those are very rugged, hardcore. This hardcore. But then there is very vulnerable like Dear Mama, there's this, Pass Me By. There are ones that are very intellectual, that not everybody can cut into them. And you really need to and most of my songs have been, you really have to really think about.
So what makes Johnny and Soul different with the two projects?
What makes Johnny and Soul different
than Keywords and Helpful?
I feel like in Johnny and Soul, I finally found my voice. Remember, I had been struggling. You brought me to the studio when we were doing Meeting the Eclipse. I was just a writer. Actually, those days I used to call myself poet, right? And I felt like I couldn't transfer the same content into the booth, and it will still preserve the same, ingenuity. So I feel like I've been trying to develop a voice, but when you're writing hip hop or music, it's different from when you're writing like traditional poetry. So there are things you need to learn. You need to learn about your rhyming scheme, your delivery, your voice, the type of beats that you like, And these are things that I struggled with. One, with doing my indigenous language, which is the Luo. I was also exploring that. I did Meeting the Eclipse. There are tracks that really went well, like Meeting the Eclipse on its own, because Grail, Ya Nafsi, which was in pure Swahili. So I realized I can do very good Swahili, but I also can do good English. I can also do Tolu. But sometimes these distances, they create a conflict in your flow and delivery. And that means you really have to be really conscious when you're recording. So that means at one point you will realize, even in the songs that I've recorded today, that sometimes the flow of these different languages, they clash on each other. Like after I've recorded a pure Swahili song and I do an English, you feel like I'm trying to flow in Swahili. Yeah, you get.
So then Dua
Yeah.
Nafsi.
Yeah.
Your latest project.
Yeah.
So what makes Dua La Nafsi different with soul?
Well, you see, after Johnny and Soul, you kept telling me, why don't we record? And I was like, I'm hanging the mic. I told Romy I hung the mic. I told Mike, you know, I'm not really feeling that shit anymore.
Yeah.
I was hurt.
Yeah.
I was feeling like I'm not being seen. I was feeling like disappointed. Because
Still misunderstood?
Yeah, because I did a lot of copies and I also tried to push it, by the way, media and all that, but I was not feeling like I'm out there. Like,
the presence.
Yeah, because I wanted, the biggest thing I wanted with Johnny and Soul, because it's more like an autobiography. I wanted that story to go out there, and I didn't feel like it did. Like I had the expectation. Every artist I think has that. So I think when I finally began to write this album, Ya Nafsi, initially I called it More Soul.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, so it was like Soul Part 2.
Yeah, it was Soul Part 2.
Yeah.
I called it More Soul because I was like, after Johnny and Soul, there were 3 dots, which means a continuity.
Yeah.
So I felt like if I have to do another thing, you told me that if we have to do another album, it better be better than Johnny and Soul.
Yeah,
and I was like, for you to do that, you have to really dig deep into your soul.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And then I flipped it. I changed it. I didn't want to call it more soul. I called it Time Forgets.
Yeah.
I remember there's a time I shared that on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I call it Time Forgets because of one track, which is River Runs Deep too.
Yeah.
But I was feeling like, what is the concept of time for someone who's going through something and they're expressing it? Does time preserve your story? Like when one day you are gone, will time preserve your story? Is there a guarantee to that? Right?
But I feel there's a rhymes you once said or a line you once said like time heals all wounds.
Yeah.
Then at this time unakuja tena unasema like times forget.
Yeah.
So what's the relation between the two?
It's one thing is the paradox of life. Through healing, sometimes you feel at a certain space where you are contradicting your philosophies of healing. Yeah. So and then you tend to doubt a lot about the concept that you use to navigate life. Yeah, so I say time all heals. Time heals all wounds. Yeah. Wounds come to life, and flowers come to pass. You know, so it's the flower is a very fleeting thing. One time it's very beautiful, the next thing it's withered and it's done. So in a way, time has a way of healing wounds, but time has a way also for forgetting. Because for you to heal, one you can forget, or you can just cope with it the way it is.
So take us through Dua Nafsi.
Ya Nafsi, one day I think it was when people were contributing towards my fundraising. And initially I had been very guarded with it. I didn't want to do another fundraising. It was humiliating in the previous ones. So for me, it was ilifika tu point I was waiting. Like I've told most people, cancer or chronic illness, the journey, it's a lot about waiting. Waiting for that doctor's appointment, waiting for the tumor to shrink, waiting for a remission, waiting for a drug to arrive, waiting for yourself. Because sometimes life can go very fast past you and you are left behind. So you have to wait on yourself as you try to catch up with life. So when, they came to me and one day I woke up and I found a note and they were telling me we have already set up the fundraising, it's running. And I was like, how did you do that? I didn't ask that. But deep down I knew if anything, even if it was going to be a contribution of like 5 bob or anything, that was something that I didn't have before. So for me, I think it was a point where I'd gone back to age 13, because age 13, that is when I lost my religion. Grew up in an Adventist church, a Christian. And this year I have gone back to age 13 where I am inquiring into God and spirituality and that. And I'm defining what prayer means to me as a person. Sometimes when people send me messages or call me, I say thank you. I mean, thank you is a prayer. Sometimes you call someone, you say, I just wanted to check on you. That's a prayer, So Ya Nafsi is, actually I call it Ya Nafsi to break the rules of poetry, because dua ni ya nafsi, but not la. So I feel like it's a prayer. It's back to forgiveness. It's back to acceptance mostly about my fate. Because right now my cancer is terminal, and that means any day could just be it. So it's about me amassing that acceptance and being within that process of acceptance, and also becoming more love and appreciating more love. Yeah. So Ya Nafsi is a prayer for me and for people that have been a part of my journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the previous projects,
Yeah.
umekuwa like ukijaribu go into your personal life.
Yeah.
Kwa dua na Ya
Okay.
Nafsi,
Yeah,
unataka kugo nayo aje, like more
I think
revelation?
I don't think it's more revelation. I think it's more so like the name before. I think it's about angles. It's about what is allowed for you to see, because every person has their own personal bias.
Okay.
Unajua wezi wana life yako yote. Una two blind spot uko nayo, because sometimes mtu anaweza kuambia but unahola msad, and you're like no, ni life yangu too. But no, deep down you can't see that the way they see it. So I'm trying to explore the angles of my life and my journey. I'm trying to give it more life, and I'm trying to, above all, I'm trying to humanize it. That it's really normal to go through these things in life, and it's really okay to use art as a way of expression, but as a way of also creating your own therapy.
Yeah.
Because people go to therapy and counseling, and they think that will sort out their problems.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you have to really come back to yourself. You have to really tell yourself this stuff. You have to really do this stuff that you would rather avoid. You have to really face this messy stuff.
Yeah.
Families are messy, personal stories are messy. We all have our own heartbreaks. We all have our own, things we thought we would achieve, but we didn't. Life didn't allow us to do that.
And do you feel like you're in the right direction now with your music? Like, is it on the right path?
Well, I can say, because it's very hard the way the industry is designed at the moment. Sometimes I am. The good thing about me is I'm capable of listening to every other thing.
Yeah.
But music for me is very sacred. There's a frequency I can't allow. As much as I would appreciate the artist,
Yeah,
doing
but you
music,
can't take the energy.
Yeah, I can't take the energy. So I feel like as an artist who's doing like tracks like I do, it's very hard driving the industry the way it is designed. Because right now we have really, okay, they're good stuff, they're running the industry, they're running the show. But now you present your work to a studio and they ask you, so now what is this? Because my music you won't find it. It's meditative.
Yeah,
It's a music you listen, you meditate upon. It's very hard for you to pick the energy from just listening to my music. But some music you can unaisikiza tu kwa mat ama unaisikiza tu kutenjea, and like you feel it. But yangu lazima ukachini, like what does this guy think?
You
What are
feel
his
the
thought
emotions.
process? Yeah. And to be honest, not everybody gets to that point. Music these days, that's why the narrative of people asking, why don't you do music like so and so? Because they have created a way to make us feel like that is the only authentic music. Like if you do not do that, one, you do not have a way of making money out of it. Two, you won't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's true, I'm not gone much anywhere. I'm not known as much in terms of my music, but I appreciate those few that have always like connected with my music. And I have a lot of people who told me, by the way, your CD really carry through really tough times, and I really appreciate that. That's really beautiful.
Yeah. And your parting shot, anything, just a thought, or maybe to your fans, to people who are going through something like you, to anything, any vibration, any energy, just any stuff.
I mean, it's all love, man. I mean, if I don't know what would have become of me if I didn't have the gift of writing or creating art. I don't know how I would have been expressing my life given the same circumstances. So I really appreciate that I can be able to do something, but not just something that is very important in my life, but other people can find connection in. Sometimes songs are the only things you run to. Like when the world is just done, you're like there in your bed or in a couch or somewhere, and you put your earphones on and you're like, wow, I'm not alone. Yeah. So I feel like if if you are going through a really tough time, you really need to like evaluate what you need to pick from those days. There are seasons, of course. That there are people who have it rough than others. There are people who have it almost every other time rough, but there are people who catch a break. So like appreciate that which is in your path. I mean, it's very hard to do that because sometimes you question, why would I be going through all this yet? I would opt for not going through this. I didn't choose this. But at the end of the day, if you really are open and willing to like listen to what that season or that circumstance is communicating to you, you are very likely to find it valuable in terms of how you express, in terms of how it builds you as a person, in terms of how it builds your relationship with the world and people around you.
So after Dua imetoka, wasa waipate wapi? Like
Dua tutaweka, yeah, we'll print. I don't know, the thing is, I've always wanted to go on a tour and just bond with people, sign copies, print a lot of copies and just move around Kenya, just giving it to people, very affordable rate. Yeah. And that's something I did with the Kiwas actually.
Yeah, I remember.
And they moved to a lot of places. At one point I was even given the Nini free because of the conversation we were having. I used to go in a mart and the next person next to me, I'd give them a copy. So I feel like, okay, if when Ya Nafsi will be out, I think not platforms, SoundCloud, iTunes. Mostly I want to push the hard copy. I want people to have that as a souvenir or something for remembrance. Yeah.
Ilikuwa mazishi, razor blade ilibusu florist, stencils, siku hiyo iliondokea safari ya mbali, waya zilikatika, kibunga kikali, tulicheck kikao cha mbala mwezi, blood shadows, kuvutwa pain, kwanza hatua mpya, tulichuza fox, slow dance phone, ubani ulilelea ukicloud clocks, tukazika scalpels kwa mdomo, mbinguni tulitazama hopeless, antena zikakuwa rudderless, antena kipowerless, nafsi ilichoka, choka ikipasua battle, haifightiwi na guns, Father God, Son kwa msalaba, mtazamo ukawa duni, ila tulijii